If you play as a ghost character in Episode 3, Chapter 6, Darth Vader, in LEGO Star Wars The Complete Saga, something interesting happens. During the final fight, when you're on the high ground, the second player will switch to a ghost character. Ghost characters are invincible, meaning you can't kill them to end the level. Which raises the question, why does this happen? Why does the second player switch to a ghost character? And what exactly is the cause of this? Well, to answer that question, we need to understand a few things. Firstly, we need to understand how free play works in LEGO games and how the game determines what characters to give you. And secondly, we need to understand how player 2, the second character, uses the characters that you get given in free play to help you with the level. Starting off with free play, when you load into a level in free play, you get to pick a character to play as. You can pick any character in the game. Player 2 will pick whatever character they were when you loaded into the level as their character, and then the game will fill in the rest of the characters with all of the different abilities that you need to 100% complete the level, get all the mini-kits, and get the red brick. For example, if there is a bounty hunter panel, the game will give you a bounty hunter character. If there's a clone or stormtrooper panel, then the game will give you a clone or stormtrooper. If there's an astromech droid panel, then the game will give you an astromech droid, and so on. Additionally, when you're scrolling through the characters, when you're actually in the level, the order of the character's abilities seems fairly consistent. Astromech and protocol droids seem to be some of the last few characters before the game loops the character roster again. Now this may seem unimportant, however it's not. It is actually quite important, and we'll see why later on. As for how player 2, the second character, helps you with the level, they will always switch to a character that is able to keep up with you. For example, if you play as an astromech droid character and you have to fly over somewhere, player 2 will also switch to an astromech droid just to keep up with you. Same thing goes with if you, for example, use a grapple bind, player 2 will switch to a blaster character to follow you as well. They will also change their character in response to different terrain types. For example, if you're doing some jumps and a single jump character can't get over them, player 2 will switch to somebody like a Jedi or a Gungan to keep up with you still. With all of that said, now that we both understand the mechanics of free play and the behaviour of the second player, we can start to apply this information to Episode 3, Chapter 6. The first section of the level features a load of jumps that you have to do whilst the floor collapses behind you. Ghost Anakin can easily do these jumps, as well as everyone here who player 2 is playing as. The next area is a timed section, where you have to use the Force to move some beams out of the way of a door, which once again both Anakin Skywalker Ghost and Obi-Wan can do. This next area though, is an example of player 2 following you around. Because Ghost Anakin is invincible, he can walk through this fire here. In the actual level, when you're playing in story mode, what you're supposed to do is use the Force to turn the fire off. Player 2 will then switch to an astromech droid to follow you, because astromech droids can also go through fire. It's a fairly underused mechanic, but you see it in a couple levels. You see it in Episode 3, Chapter 2, and in Episode 5, Chapter 6. After that, you then got some more jumps. Now the first few jumps are jumps that anyone can do. However, the set of jumps after that are jumps that only a double jumping character can do. Now earlier in the video, I said about how the abilities of the characters are in some form of order in the character roster, and I also said about how that information will be useful later. Well, the reason that information is useful is because our character roster for the level looks like this. We are playing as Anakin Skywalker Ghost. Player 2 is currently playing as Clone, Episode 3, Pilot. Now player 2 could either go one space forward to loop the player roster around to play as Anakin Skywalker Ghost, or go 3 spaces backwards to Captain Tarpals, as both of these characters will be able to do the jumping section. Obviously going forward by 1 space is easier and quicker than going backwards by 3 spaces. Now this, I would imagine, is the reason why we end up with 2 Anakin Skywalker Ghosts, because he is quicker for player 2 to switch to. Now that both characters are playing as ghost characters, that brings us on nicely to the final section of the level, the high ground fight. As you all saw in the intro of the video, if you switch to player 2, change who they're playing as, and then switch back to your character, you'll notice that player 2 switches back to being a ghost character. Unless you switch to a character with a lightsaber. If you switch to another Jedi or Sith character, and then switch back to player 1, you'll notice that player 2 stays as whatever character you just switched them to. Now I believe the reason this happens is because in the level, you're playing as Obi-Wan and Anakin, both of whom have lightsabers, and they are all you have to play as. In story mode, you only get those 2 characters for the level, meaning you have to use them in the final fight. So I think that the game just by default switches player 2 to being a lightsaber character, because that's what it's like in the story mode version of the level. Well, there we have it then. The answer to our question, of why does player 2 switch to a ghost character in the final fight, is because for whatever reason, the game just wants player 2 to be using a lightsaber, If you switch player 2 yourself to another lightsaber character, and then switch back to who you're playing as, they'll stay as that character. But if you switch them to a blaster character or a droid or something like that, then they'll switch back to a ghost character. The jumping section is the part of the video that I'm a bit less confident on with my theories, because I'll put some footage up on screen now of a few different characters doing it. You can see Jango Fett's fine, but then the game switches to Jar Jar for some reason, and then Ghost Anakin. So, that's quite weird. Originally, this video started off as a glitch video, because I honestly thought this was a glitch, being able to play as ghost characters in the final section, and having player 2 not be able to switch. I thought that was something wrong with the game, and I specifically thought that was something wrong with the Wii version. So I loaded up the Wii, and spent ages recording that. I also then tried emulation, only to realise that this would work on the PC version as well. So I'll put some Wii footage up now, just so I don't waste it, because it did take me ages to record. So there you go, that's me recording my Wii, playing LEGO Star Wars. If you've got any ideas yourself about why this happened, then let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to hear them. If I'm completely wrong, then also tell me that as well, because I want to know the actual reason. I'm honestly quite interested as to why this happens, what causes the game to select the characters in the way that it does. But yeah, that's it. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please be sure to like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you all later.